you're on the right path. Like, no matter what path you're on, we have such a thing in our cultures and humanity and societal conditionings that say some things are bad, some things are good, and pain is bad, and suffering is bad, and pleasure is good, and joy is good. Fuck that. Like, the deepest pains is where you are getting the deepest gold. And wherever you are right now, you're meant to be.
Thanks for tuning into Power Perspectives, People, Passion, Purpose. This episode, I have an amazing human design educator, shamanic practitioner, cacao medicine ceremonialist, orgasmic preacher, peaceful role model, and voice of the new awareness, originally from New Zealand, currently offering her magic in the heart of Portugal, Lady Cat. Welcome to Power Perspectives.
Thank you. Kapow. Yeah, so thanks so much for having me. It's really beautiful to be here with you.
Absolutely. I'm so grateful that I get to talk to you because, in the kind of lead up, we were just mainly discussing human design. And then obviously you've got this plethora of other offerings and they're all like tantalizingly intriguing. So I would love to get into some, but obviously we're here for the main topic. Kat, can you share with us, this enigma, what is human design and how does it work?
Wow, that is an enigma, and that is such a big question.
Tell us all of it all at once.
It's the mechanics of the miracle. Yeah, I'd love to this is actually the name of my program, The Mechanics of the Miracle, because really that is how human design comes through me. So, something to get to know about human design is that it is, officially, it is the science of differentiation. That sounds very logical and formal. Really, what that's saying is that we are all crazy unique. And so, with that uniqueness, we all present it in a unique way. That you are hearing this through my uniqueness. I have learned from original material and from mentors that have been, it's an original fractal is the way that we share it. But yeah, it's kind of amazing to really be in a space now of just like being so in my voice that it's like, yeah, you get to hear the mechanics of a miracle, not the science of differentiation. So much truer for me. So yeah, it is literally it's a logical system that explains the mystery of this known dimension.
But from someone too that, let's say, they've never heard of human design, what does human design do for them and how do you determine whose design is whose?
Human design is framed as an experiment to start with. Yeah, can I just jump into that a little bit? Because it's really important to get that there's just an absolute depth of knowledge that we couldn't possibly understand. Some people might, but I'm not built for it. It's so deep. But what's good to know is that this is not like a dogma. This is not like a believe me, this is the thing, or like there's no guru thing going on in any of human design, right from the beginning of human design. It's very much, hey, here's a body of knowledge. See what you reckon, try it out for yourself. So the first layer of human design that you can try out for yourself is type. Is that we all have, I feel like we know by now that we all live in these auric fields or electromagnetic fields. What human design says is that there are 4 different kinds of fields, and that is the aura types, the types, and they all operate differently in the world, and they all meet resistance in different ways, and they all have, they're all kind of different machines with different gear sticks and different accelerators. And, of course, we're not taught this, but what it really brings us is, this like, oh, this is how I'm unique. So let me try out how to drive this machine, in a new way. I have so much history with so much. I've been in personal development and the spiritual realm since I was a teenager, like facilitating. And human design is like there's these subtle little edges that really, from my perspective now, I can see that only human design has been able to make sure I get that. And yeah, it's really about driving our vehicles properly for alignment, it's least resistance. Who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want, I mean, that means easy. That means flow. That means love. That means joy. Like, just least resistance. Stop bumping into shit. Come this way. That's really the initial layer. Yeah.
But in order to establish which human design path is, we need to know what their birthday, time of birth, and location.
That's right. Yeah. Daytime, place. Yeah, that is really all. And I mean, it's all digitalized now, but back it can be done analog. There are still people in the world who do it analog. I couldn't understand why myself, but yeah, you go and get what is called your body graph. So you put in those details, you get your body graph, and that is the map. That is the map. Yeah. And yeah.
So I've tried to look at mine before, and it was just like, cool, this looks like the inside of a watch. Like, I have no business taking apart these cogs. Like, I need to ask a watchmaker or someone that knows exactly what this is supposed to look like. And that kind of brought me to you. Like, it's very intricate, human design, and all of these pathways and what speaks to what. Can you speak a little bit about what the hell is going on in there? What does it tell you when someone comes to work with you and you see their map? What does it say to you?
Oh man, that is I mean, the short answer is everything.
Really? Your naked soul.
Yeah. And some people do get quite cautious about sharing their designs, on websites and stuff. I personally feel like being transparent is I'm here for that. Anyone's welcome to see my design. But yeah, it really is. You do see a lot. You see a lot. But if I was to speak to the beginner, like I am, I would say what you're really seeing is the way that the energy moves in that body. So it's the map to the body, right? So you're looking at a map that is of your energy field. So what are you putting out, and what are you sensitive to? What is coming in that might be distorting your frequency? That's really like, yeah, and very overarching. It's a very difficult question. But yeah, what energy is consistent in your body? How does it move? And what are you putting out into the world? And then equal and opposite, where are you susceptible to life, or sensitive or empathic, or where you're here to gain the wisdom that actually isn't yours, but that you are here to learn. Yeah. And I feel like there might be one more thing. I guess, I mean, what's most important about looking at this map is which part of each person that sits in front of me is to be the most trusted. So we have this saying in human design where it's about strategy and authority, but I'm just going to stick with authority for now. Authority, just like the word says, is authority. Like, this is the part of you can trust. And so because of each of our unique designs and the way that we are, imprinted, actually, we each have a part of us, a felt sense that is where we should be making our decisions from, where is the most consistent and strongest, you might say intuition, but it's not always an intuitive thing. And then, yeah, clearly shows us too which parts of us we're hearing that we should not be trusting. And yeah, that's the gold.
Very interesting. Yeah. And so, like, there's 4 in the original, the OG one that you subscribe to. It's not the pop human design. I think we were discussing earlier that there's a pop human design with extra layers, but then you are discussing or have trained in original kind of human design. So in those original ones, there's 4 pathways. Is that correct? 4 designs?
There are 4
Okay, 4 types, and we all fit in within one of those 4 types.
That's right. Yes.
Okay. And so, can you just describe the basics of what those 4 types are?
Sure. Thanks for bringing me back to the simple.
Well, because I have to keep it simple for myself, because I don't human design.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. So let's do it. So I will keep it simple. So there are 4 types. So we have generators, projectors, manifestors, and reflectors. Generators are most people in the world. They're about 70% of the population. What's unique about them is that they have open and enveloping auras. The world really was built by and for generators. We live in a generator world. So anyone that has a generator type, let's see, open and enveloping, they're here to be satisfied. And if they're not satisfied, they're frustrated. Then we have projectors that are about 18. They have a focus and absorb. So their aura is built to really penetrate into other auras. And they are so focused. These are the people that look you in the eye and you are looking into your soul, and they really are. Their energy is going in and almost feeding off of the they don't they yeah and they are here to be successful or feel successful. Sometimes it helps to feel that like success. So mind doesn't make it not. And if they're not in alignment, so yeah, each of these types have the scale. And we have manifestors. Manifestors 8 to 10.
8 to 10%. Okay.
Yeah, not so many. I mean, this is still very many in the population, but percentage-wise, yeah, we're not very many. And they have, and just watch your mind not loving this, dense and repelling auras. So yeah, manifestors are the only aura type that is really built to start things, to initiate things. But they don't have consistent energy. So there isn't any possibility of work and follow through. And they are here for peace. So if they're in alignment, they should be peaceful. And if they're not, they will be angry. They can be. And then we have reflectors, and they're only 1%. 1%. Yeah. So super rare. What makes reflectors is that they don't have any definition in their chart. So no consistent energy in any way. Maybe we can get into that, but very unique beings. The rest of the types are imprinted. They're called solar beings. They are solar beings, and these dear little reflectors, they're lunar beings. So they are here for surprise or disappointment. That is the scale, and their auras are. It's called the language is actually sampling. They're actually here. The best metaphors that I know really are like they're here to be like the litmus paper of the collective, or the canary in the cage. They're sort of feeling everything and all things at the same time, and knowing whether there is a cleanness in the minds of humanity or not. Very special creatures. Yeah.
I wonder what kind of work generators you can kind of gather, right? That everything else. But just curiosity, do you know what kinds of work that reflectors, projectors, and manifestors will gravitate towards?
So okay. I can speak to it in like a I'm going to speak in metaphors because it's actually my design. But guide, any way that one-on-one guidance is a projector's genius. Manifestors to start things, to say, hey, I'm doing a thing. Everyone, do you want to come? And that can look like this, or starting a cult, or starting they can do whatever. They can do whatever they want. Doesn't mean they should. They also, there is a waiting, actually. They really can't do everything they want to do. There's a nuance there. And then reflectors are really here to be looked after by the collective. That's, as far as, it is like a mental paradigm to say, how do we support ourselves financially? And it's always going to come up because we do live in the material world. And one of the things that is said in human design is that if you really are in alignment, you won't have to think about that. So
I like that.
We go that far.
And so speaking of, so you're a manifester. Yes. And you were telling me about this incredible experiment that is just kind of wrapping up at your lovely place on the planet right now in Portugal. Can you share a little bit about, I mean, as much as you want to, about this incredible experiment that you're doing with human design?
Oh my God, I'd actually love to. My body just went, Yeah, well, I'm a manifestor. And what manifestors do is they say, hey, I want to do a thing. Really, I mean, the in the hierarchy of the types, the manifestor does sit up this top, and there is this experience that is shared with the manifestors. That is, the universe is telling me to do something, and it's almost like if you don't do it, it can cause physical pain. So it is what it is. I have had this knowing that this needs to come through me for a couple of years. And it's happened that this last season, I have been living in central Portugal in this beautiful, renovated Portuguese, old school, lovely retreat center. So really just like a house that sleeps 20, but we didn't have that, fortunately. And the experiment was living in aura. So living together and being completely in our alignment, you might say. I mean, alignment's not a human design word. It's hard to sometimes use the jargon to get my point across. But yeah, we had all types and we lived for months and we lived correctly. And what that really looks like is like a lot of just no bullshit. Like from the outside in, it could look like, wow, you guys are kind of rude and like a bit mean to each other and like super clear and like, or I don't know. But also everyone who's walked into this house has fed back like, oh, it felt so good. Like energetically in the space, there's no resistance. There's like, we've really put in place a very, quite, strict, you might say, like we do this and we don't do this because that is what the mechanics say. A human design or a mechanic say this is how it should be. So let's live like that and see what happens. And it was beautiful. And it was also challenging because all of our minds want us to be what we're not, right? I mean, I feel like that came up for me in many modalities before human design. Human design explains that, which is so beautiful. And so, we just lived it. We lived it. We did days. We did just like, life. We lifed together, but we also taught a lot of human design. I taught a couple of rounds of the mechanics of the miracle. And we did other fun things too, ceremony and nature and all the gorgeous things.
I love that kind of life that's outside of the matrix. That's just like, let's do a thing. Let's do something weird. Let's make it our own objective. I mean, that's your own experiment. What was your objective for the outcome?
Well, I am an experiential being. I'm an emotional manifester. And maybe some of you, what else to say? I'm an experiential being. That's the best way to say it. So for me, I learn the best. I integrate the best when I am having the experience. There are many people who are learning human design and the depths of it. And some of them are built for it, but they're learning the knowledge, filling them, not necessarily putting it into practice, which for me is the only option and the point. Now, recognizing that it's not the point for everyone, I am unique. But for me, it was like, all right, like I have lived in aura with people before, and I have run events, which I call aura experiments. So we do, 3 hours of like embodiment and movement and just playing with this unseen vortex we all live in, which is phenomenal. But to do it, for months on end. And, one of the most beautiful things about it, to be honest, was that, we were co-living, and with co-living always comes like conflict, right? It's like, you didn't do the dishes. And like, I don't know, it's just bullshit really. But every time something like that happened and we bumped into each other, we got to then sit down, look at the mechanics and be like, oh my God, that's because you've got this and I've got that. And that's a conflict. And that's why I love you in the mornings. And that's why and when we have the understanding of what's happening, what's really happening, we can drop the story of like, she's such a bitch for not doing the dishes, and just be like, oh, yeah, like she's not here to work and like fucking whatever. So it's so liberating, really liberating. You don't have to hang on to these mind games because it's all just written there in the map. And that was the gold. That's what, that just sealed this, like, this is big. This is beautiful and big for community and for humanity. And that's what I was doing there. Manifestors are about impact. So I was like Petri dish, like testing the waters so I can then like throw it out to all of humanity, of course.
Anyway. That's wonderful. And I mean, that's what people want to know, like from my point of view of being so not knowing anything about human design, to like, what can it do for people? Like, what can knowing your chart and then also knowing other people's chart do in your life and help you? And that's a big, huge reason. Liberation. Who doesn't want to be free? So like, what else can knowing your path help you with? Obviously, minimizing conflicts just by that basic understanding, but like, what else does she do?
Yeah. Oh man, good call. I have been my next Mechanics of the Miracle is going to be the relationship edition. Just so you know, after this experience, I have been like, oh, far out. This is like, like relationship. And I don't necessarily just mean romantic relationship, though I do. But like, one of the most beautiful things that we did in the house was pulling up our parents and our children and our ex-lovers and our current lovers and just go like, it's so full on, like I personally, and I'm sure you have done as well, probably your listeners have done so much work in the way of like inner child and like, mums and dads and first 7 years, like primary traumas, all of that stuff. But to be able to lay that out and be like, oh, like, I mean, I'll give you a personal example. My dad and my older sister in my family both had this particular channel definition in their chart. For me, my experience of them, because I am so open, was oppressive, quite like a lot of my, what I might have called trauma came from feeling like squashed by those guys. And when I just, when I saw this, and then when I did a ream of, all of my partners, including my current partner, which is kind of hilarious, they all have that channel. Like you can really see where I'm like attracted and like looking, you might say, looking to heal it, but it's beyond that. It's just like a mechanical attraction from an energetic conditioning. And to see the mechanic of that, I mean, there's such a huge possibility of like deeper letting go. Like this is nothing. This is just choiceless beauty. That's what happened. And so, you can really track and get a lot of healing from that, but also then you can, understanding, love and understanding, they sit right next to each other. And is that answering the question?
Yeah. And it's, opened up like 10 more, but so your current partner has the same squashing, not vibration, not alignment path in the map. So now that you know that, how does that shift things for you? Just understanding shifts the blame game, justification, excuses.
Totally. It's a totally different relationship. I mean, it's great question. Wow. Well, a couple of things. So what's obvious to me about this particular connection with my partner right now is that he and I are both living in our alignment. We're living in what in human design, we're living our strategy and authority. We're on the right path. We're on they say the correct place with the correct people at the correct time. Very logical, but I'm sure you can get it. And so with that, I can be in this presence of this definition, this particular frequency he has, in this beautiful, clean, peaceful way. Like it's beyond buying into that oppressive quality. And in fact, everything has like its, you might say dark or light, or it's just black or white, yin or yang.
Polarity.
I'm getting the opposite of it, actually. Like this particular channel comes with it's a channel of community. It's so funny. I am not built for community. I'm here to analyze it and bring new things to it, but I'm not a tribal being. So that's why it was oppressive. And now with it, it's supportive. So yeah, that's a good example, actually. You get the flip side, okay, yeah, so oppressed and now so supported. And it really is just a matter of being correct or not. That's an alignment or not. Yeah. And, so many wondrous little aha moments.
I bet. And I love the thought of nothing has a meaning until we give it one, until we define. Everything is just occurrences until we define, okay, this is good or this is bad. So the thing before that you'd think is squashing you now is oh no, now that's supporting me, and I can be clear and correct in that. I really like that.
Yeah. And also, I guess to say, I don't want to make it sound like, it solves everything. Pain, suffering still do exist in our realities. And when we get to see it and just point at it and, almost grab a hold of it, it's not elusive. So I guess what I would share is when struggles come up between me and my partner now, the same feelings or the same scenarios that would have me feeling oh God, what am I doing here? Or this is whatever, and things come up. I can, breathe, because it's still an experience in the body, and just oh yeah, that's what's going on. This particular thing is very, it's about the will center. It's very strong. It's very masculine. It's very it's like a wall. You can hit up against a wall. And it's just, that's what it is. So there's, I guess, acceptance. There's acceptance. Yeah. I can see the interplay of our dynamic, and I can be wow, that's what's up. That's it. That's it. That's very
powerful.
Special. Yeah, it's a good example. And of course, this has impacted every relationship in my life. I've got 2 grown children and 2 projector parents, and every single relationship, there's just a new depth of understanding.
That's really beautiful. And so that's an offering that you are going to be coming into in the future, a couples retreat or less relationship retreat, understanding your past or present.
Well, understanding everything. I'm actually planning on offering it online, and not necessarily for couples. Yeah. I feel like a relationship is actually a really personal journey. It's not about 2 people. It's just starts with one. And so, yeah, relationship is, there's some language distinguishing in there somewhere, but how we relate to ourselves. And then, what are the dynamics? What are the consistent dynamics that show up for us and that we can see and design, explain and release? And then what are the dynamics you're going to bump into? And like I said, my favorite thing to do was overhaul ex-boyfriends. That's just so good. Now I don't have to do that again. It's so good. Yeah.
Learning from your lessons, I call them. When you're sitting in front of someone and they're telling you about, their past scenarios, their past partners, and then what their paths are, what their map is, can you kind of predict a future for them if they don't take alternate steps?
Ooh, well, yeah, in a very fundamental level, it comes back to that type, that whether you're going to have a satisfying life or a frustrated life. Ultimately at the bottom of it all, that's what it is, or the other ones, if you're the other types. For a generator, are you going to stay in your misalignment and end up, you know, in a relationship, in a job, in a situation that you're fucking frustrated with. Or, yeah, and I can't tell you what that's going to look like. I can't tell you which job necessarily, although, you know, obviously I could throw some guesses out there. I can't tell you what kind of guy, but also there are some distinct things that don't rub together well. Pardon the pun. But yeah, it really is like, if you are, I mean, yeah, we know this, right? If you are in full satisfaction, yeah, generator satisfaction is really something. I mean, it's life force. It's actually life force. So if you are in that, then it doesn't matter what scenario comes up in your life. Like, it's going to be good.
That's awesome. Well, and can you just share, because you were telling me a little bit earlier, but also because there's what 70 to 80% of humanity is the generators, and maybe you could share for the other ones too. That's not really fair to exclude them, but when we're trying to listen to our bodies, what are the areas of the body that each type should listen to? So you were saying it's the gut or the sacral area for generators?
Yeah, for generators, it's the sacral. And, you know, we are mostly going to be, this is mostly going to be generators hearing this. Yeah, sacral. So what makes a generator is that you have consistent energy in the sacral center. On your body graph, you see that as it being colored in. So colored in sacral, generator. Yeah, there is always going to be, with the generator, this pre-linguistic, so this like ancient sound yes no gut feeling, and it responds. They are here to respond to the world, but it specifically responds best to yes no questions. So, you know, do you like chocolate? And like, if you, I mean, you're a manifesting generator, so there is again a little differentiation, but generators, when they're children, before they've been told to use their words, I think I've shared this with you before, they are the little children running around going, do you want to play outside? Mm-hmm. Do you need a snack? Like, they are, this is actually their true voice. This is where their body wisdom, their truth. The caveat on that is that some generators are also emotional. So it's not necessarily it's not their authority. Actually, the sacral isn't necessarily the authority. So yeah, there's and then if you're, half of all humans have emotional authority, which is the solar plex center defined. So if that is defined, there is an emotional authority always, and that's built to not do things spontaneously. So
Not
yeah, complex. Not do things spontaneously. Like the temptation for an emotional being is to go, yeah, I'm doing it now, or like, fuck yeah, I have to do it right now, and like, this never works out. So yeah, we have gut feeling. I have gut feeling, the response in the sacral, but if there's an emotional component, it's different. I mean, you can hear it already, right? It's pretty complex. And there are 7 different authorities. So yeah, we're really just scraping the surface here.
But like, and for you, for manifestors, where is your authority main first one?
Okay. Yeah, good one. So let me share. So we have the 4 types, which is actually the gold of the types. What the types is bringing is the strategy, which is different. And then doesn't matter what type you are, you have a different authority. So I am a manifestor and I have emotional authority, but there are manifestors that have sphenic authority and generators that have emotional authority and generators that, So it does get a little confusing. For me, I only have my emotional and my throat center defined. So that does, like, anyone with emotional defined is an emotional authority. So I'm an emotional manifestor. Yeah, which means I take my time.
Go with the flow. And like, there's so much to read inside of like, I'm just thinking of the person that kind of, okay, what is human design? Let me put my birthday in. And then you see this map. What would you say if you had to take away the top 3 things to just beginner, what would you look at to define or get the bigger picture?
Thank you. That's good. Great question. I mean, type, strategy, and authority. But strategy, authority, emotionality. I mean, emotional. If you're emotional or not, emotional people and non-emotional people live on different timelines, different planes of existence. For me, clearly, this is my design, right? I'm hugely passionate about this, but it's very real, and not many people are talking about it yet, even in human design. So yeah, what is your type? Really important. Are you here to respond? Are you here to initiate? Are you here to guide? Are you here to sample? But in all honesty, I mean, those words, I'm really getting complicated. There's so much to it. So strategy and authority, 100%. And then, are you emotional or not? That is huge. And I will share something about it just to say how huge it is. What that means, if you have a definition in your emotional center, what that means is you have a consistent emotional energy. So kind of like a motor. There's emotions just whirring in the background all the time. Good emotions, bad emotions, sideways emotions, creepy emotions, like all the emotions, just there's always something. We wake up every day not sure how we're going to feel. We look in the mirror in the morning and go, not sure if I like myself today, or not sure or do I love myself today? Like, we are on a wave, on an emotional wave. It goes up and down and up and down, and we're always a different person. I feel really passionate about, like, this is the newest awareness center, and we've been able to see it coming, right? Like, I mean, I don't know about you, but when I was a child, no one talked about EQ. There was no emotion. Come on. Right. Now it's just of course. That's just of course. And that is because this emotional motor, this emotional center is maturing. It's been like in this beat around phase, and it's maturing. And when it gets to be matured, it's going to turn into spirit awareness. No wave, just awareness. And so right now we are in this phase of the emotional beings are like having to figure out what our emotions are and get as much awareness as we can. And like this beat around is really pumping. So emotional people are just like it's embodiment, awareness, like it's everywhere, right? Somatic release, like we're all doing all the things. And those of us who are not emotional are amplifying the ones of us who are. So
who's not emotional? Who's not waking up like that? Not knowing how they're going to.
Right. So in their chart, they're white in that center, so they're not emotional. But this is the thing. They hang out with emotional beings all day. They sleep next to an emotional being at night. They live in the world. They're amplifying it. Yeah. So my motor pumps into it. Really is like the motorized frequency hits the center of an unemotional person or an open emotional person, and then they have the breakdown. They lose their shit. They're the ones that are really struggling. Like, we're built for it. We can handle it. But if I sit next to someone too long who's got no emotional center, for sure they're going to have an outburst. It's so much to deal with, and it's a big deal.
Is that more like masculine, feminine, like not just the genders themselves, but is there imbalances of masculine, feminine, or over emotionality? Is that something to do with it, or another cog in the ever intricate wheel?
Well, it's actually not. No, it's not something to do with it. We are all uniquely imprinted aside from gender. It's funny how emotionality has really gotten the feminine. Like, no, that's not it. It really is just, I mean, it's mechanical, we are just born into these beautiful machines that are our bodies. And some of us have a connected up emotional center and some of us don't. And the intricacies of that and the getting to know yourself on that level, I mean, at this point in history, from where I'm sitting, there's nothing more important. Like, we're a shit show because people don't get that right now. We're like, the emotional beings are pumping out this toxic, unaligned frequency, and the unemotionals are amplifying it and sharing it all over the damn news. Like, that's the mechanics of what's going on. And it feels a little bit like, yeah, I don't know. Obviously it's my jam. It's big. If we didn't have that, peace. That's all I'm saying.
I just have to think, and I totally understand what you're saying. I just have to think of it in a way of that polarity. Like, it's whatever it is on this side, there's got to be an equal and opposite side of it that's going to come into balance, and we're working on that. But you said born into, and I just wondered, a curiosity with that. If somebody has, like a near-death experience or a huge life transformation or something, will they ever change their type, or that is like the semen and the egg come together, that's your type forever?
Awesome. So it's not going to change their type. Type is defined by an imprint that happens at birth, quite similar to an astrological imprint, but human design is differentiated because there's also an imprint that happens in utero 3 months before birth. So yeah, there's absolutely no changing the design, the type. And there are 64 activations in every chart, and 26 of them are defined. So we get 13 imprints before birth, and we get 13 imprints at birth. But do the math on that. There are 64 opportunities to be imprinted, and only 26 ever get there. So all of the openness that we all have, varying degrees, because there are layers. You might have gate 18 and then gate 18 4 times, and so there are varying degrees of openness. But everyone has a lot of openness, and in our openness, we are flexible, and there is a lot of opportunity for lives to change with certain situations. That's kind of what you're speaking to, right? Like, people just seem to go from one personality to the next. That's still possible, but it doesn't mean the machine's changed. It just means the openness has changed.
Yes, that makes sense. And because this is so complex, I kind of know a side of the question I'm about to ask you now, but what do you wish more people knew about your work? And right now I'd probably say everything, because it's so, people know a lot based on the pop version of what you were saying, what's on Instagram, and know your human design, and I'm a manifester. And, there's just comments from people that are equally as uneducated in it as long as you've been, and I'm one of them, like, ooh, I'm a this today. I don't agree with that today, so it's not me. I do agree with this today, so it's fine. I like it. What do you wish more people actually knew about human design when they're first starting out?
That's such beautiful honesty. Thank you. Yeah, my gut has churned many times when I see things like that online. And that's all perfect. So what I would share is that the way that I would describe what you're saying there is that people are coming into finding out about human design and assuming that it's personality profiling. So just, that's a perfect example, the way you shared that. Oh, I'm this, how fun. That's, fun, cool. But actually what human design is about a lived experience that can change everything. And so it actually doesn't do anyone any good just to learn human design, just to, I'm a manifestor, or identify with it. Like, all of the ways that comes into our being is through, concepts, and we're not here to conceptualize anymore, is what human design is. So living it and learning it, two very different things. It's the experience. If you want to change your life, you've got to actually jump in and do the work and live it. That's a whole different thing. And I'm preaching it right now.
I really get why you did the experiment. I really understand that, especially from the manifestor point of view. But you just said preaching, and it made me think of something I wanted to loop back to, because I know we're coming to an end of time. But Orgasmic Preacher, that's awesome. And can you tell me what that is and a little bit about it?
I'd love to so much.
Yes.
Got me fully buzzing now. You're a powerful generator. So just so that you know, when we are in conversation, because of all my openness and my open sacral specifically, I am amplifying your definition. So when I was just, so I started to go, wow, wow, wow. And that's because, we went on the call and I was like, hey, I'm all peace and love. And now, so just real-time example. Now I'm amplifying all of your juicy goodness. It's so nice. Because I don't have. So, Orgasmic Preacher.
Some for you. Yeah.
Thank you. So my design specifically, best way to say this, we are all born on a particular cross, and this defines like the most of our frequency. That's a whole nother layer, and I don't want to confuse everyone. First, my design is that I'm born on the cross of Eden. So the gates of the cross of Eden, of which there are 4, that's the sun and earths in the 2 different designs from before birth and birth. My personality, sun and earth, are crisis and friction, and they're both in the emotional center. And let me tell you a little bit about crisis and friction. They are very fucking sexual. They are really emotive, and with emotionality comes sexuality. And they are about like the darkening of the light and, all the juicy goodness. And all of that in my emotional center, which is defined. So it's actually defined, it was by 5 different activations, and it all reaches my throat just through 1 activation. And so, like the actual truth of my frequency, and it's so fun to be talking about this, because before human design, I mean, like I said, I was already deep in work, doing this self-work. I was actually running my own modality. And the one thing I never spoke about, even though I was doing this deep ceremonial space, every time sex came up, I would be like, oh, I can't do that. Too far. Just I was like, that's the next level. I'm not ready for that. So funny to me now. And the reason I see now is because that is just absolutely the truth of my design. I am emotional voice. I am sexuality. And coming more and more into my alignment has had to make me really look at that and own that. And so, now I have a voice for it. Now I'm like, yes, juicy orgasms, please. That's what's up. It's called life, bitches. Like, So that's just, me putting that there in my bio is me really like owning that's who I am by design. That is who I am.
I love that. And I love that you're honoring it. And like part of preaching that is that open vocal area, that openness to speak your truth, own your truth, live authentically. And like I shared with you before, I think that I had a Bufo on my birthday 2 days ago, and the amount of surrendering was incredible. But then I was just, every single cell of my body had an orgasm. And wasn't aware that, the medicine man, my partner, I didn't care. I couldn't care. You're gone. But like every part of me had an orgasm, and it was so whole, and there was no sexual shame or dirt. Like, oh no, like it was, this is life. There's no life without sex. And the true vibration of that higher being felt in that moment, sex, it was union, the coming together just on that first moment, that cusp of like true vibration and the highest alignment, So I love that Orgasmic Preacher, that just speaks power, resonance. So thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for having me.
This is kind of a deeper question, but what advice, Lady Cat, would you give to yourself like 10, 20 years ago, knowing what you know now, say pre any knowing about human design? What would you say to yourself?
Okay, let's just define the question. 20 years ago or just before human design? Two very different.
Let's say when you were probably at a rock bottom, because usually people that become shamanic practitioners, that become guides and wise people like yourself, they go through periods of rock bottom to reach their upper. So what would you say to yourself at a time of darkness?
Oh, bless you. It's such a nice question. And also it's going to just take me back. Oh, I've most definitely had my fair share of darkness. I feel like you might, you've heard me speak about this before. What would I say to myself? I mean, What I really do know today, I don't know if this would be necessarily helpful to the younger version, but I'm going to try it anyway. Just that, like, you're on the right path. Like, no matter what path you're on, we have such a thing in our cultures and humanity and societal conditionings that say some things are bad, some things are good, and pain is bad, and suffering is bad, and pleasure is good, and joy is good. Fuck that. Like, the deepest pains is where you are getting the deepest gold. And wherever you are right now, you're meant to be. I mean, we could all still embrace that in every moment, right? Yeah, there's absolutely no wrong place, time. Yeah.
That's a
That's
pretty
what,
perfect answer from someone that's talking about pathways, the human design paths, the types, and to kind of bring that circle back to the past, back to the future. I really love that.
Mhm.
And obviously, I'm not going to share intricate details, but I first met Kat when she was giving a talk for a group we were both in, and it was so powerful what she shared. And she's definitely overcome some darkness and definitely overcome some traumatic stuff. And I think it's so perfect for people. I'm getting goosebumps that find their way to something so big like human design to share with the world, because you know what the layers look like.
Yeah. And to take it even just a little further, now I can see in my design, in my blueprint, why I needed to be in such dark places. Like, it's right there in the mechanics. And that has just brought a whole nother layer of healing, as if I hadn't done enough. So, yeah. So, like, that was just been miraculous for me to be like, oh, like, yeah, I mean, I'm built for crisis. Crisis then looked really dark. Crisis now looks more orgasmic. Who knew? So, yeah, absolute divine perfection, no doubt. And a mechanical backing to that. I mean, what is this world we're living in right now? Blows my mind.
Oh, that's fabulous. And it might align with my one of my last questions here, but like, what has been the biggest, I call them blessings, like lessons in disguise of blessings. What has been your biggest or most impactful blessing that you've come across in the life of Lady Cat?
Something to do with relating. I mean, yeah, I mean, I've had the darkest of relationships and also the equal and opposite. I mean, I've already shared a little about that. It's so funny. What the gold of my life experience has been around, how initially how to be someone who has boundaries. That's always a good lesson. But that was like my kind of early 20s, like, oh, fuck, I exist enough to draw my own edges, to the point now that that relating is the joy of my life, because I am so clear about who I am and what's for and not for me. There you
That's
go. We
really
got.
powerful. Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. Guys, if you want to find Lady Cat, talk to her, work with her. She is on social media at Lady Cat the Magnificent, and I'll put a link here in the description. But it has been an absolute pleasure talking with you today, Cat.
Thank you so much for having me. This feels like such a gift.